Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself did not baptize but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again to Galilee. But he needed to go through Samaria. So he came to a city of Samaria which is called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey, sat thus by the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Then the woman of Samaria said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well, and drank from it himself, as well as his sons and his livestock?" Jesus answered and said to her, "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water, springing up into everlasting life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water, that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw." Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come here." The woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have said well, 'I have no husband.' For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. In that you spoke truly." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things." Jesus said to her, "I who speak to you am he." This could be a bit of a haphazard class. The first thing I want to say is I went on vacation with my wife and daughter, and we went out in the desert, and there's no phone signal out there. It's pretty desolate, dry, and we had the most amazing time. We just never stopped laughing. It was so great. But, about towards the end of the first day, we were having so much fun. And I thought, wow, I am having a lot of fun. And I thought, this is a little different than me with vacation. Because I don't usually like vacation because it seems like a lot more work than normal life. So I don't get the fun of it usually. I mean, I do enjoy it. I take my daughter places, but usually I don't enjoy it. But I was having so much fun. And I thought, what is this? I just became aware towards the evening. We're having a lot of fun. Why? And I thought, oh my gosh, I feel relieved to be gone. And I've never in 25 years felt relieved to be gone from my life. I just don't feel relief. If I feel relief, if I need a break, I spend a couple hours in meditation and then the break, I don't need it anymore. So all for me, vacation is work, just more work. You're driving, packing, unpacking, there's all this stuff, food, and where do you store the food? And to me, it just seems like, man, I'd rather be home. And I realized I feel relieved for the first time ever. And I thought, wow, I'm relieved. What am I relieved from? And I thought it's the chaos of our political situation. I just feel relief to be out of it. And I just so much more appreciation for nature. We're in the desert, so it's just sagebrush and juniper trees and rocks and sand and dirt. It's some people don't like it, but we really love it. But I thought, oh, I better stay away from politics when I go back then because I don't like that I'm feeling relieved that I left. So that's really means nothing. Side note, I just thought I would say it. Uh, okay, so then I think I'll just start on the class now. It will be a haphazard class tonight, but so I missed last week's thing because I had to take a phone call that you guys read something. So I want to read this first from last week, okay? And this is the condemnation that the light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. So, one of the things the monk always said to me very often, I never repeat his phrases. Like most of the people who've helped me, I've forgotten them all. But I think I should have written them all down. He had a lot of neat little phrases. One of the things he said all the time is if Jesus says it, it's not an opinion. And you come from the new age and you're like, there's different perspectives and yeah, he said this, but they said this. And, he would say, Clinton, if Jesus said it, it's not an opinion. So, and you got to get that in your head with Jesus, because if you don't get that in your head, you'll hear his words like he's just sharing a perspective. And then you miss it, because when Jesus speaks, Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the light. He may put it in language that you can understand, figurative language, metaphorical language, but when he is speaking, it's not like he's got to be, in an extra intuitive place to touch the divine and then speak of it. That's my job. That's your job. 4 hours of prayer before you talk. That's our job. But that's not Jesus. Jesus is the truth he's speaking of. He is the truth. That's something completely different. So then it's like, so then if something feels weird or feels off or it rubs me the wrong way, that's the word of truth needing to change something in me. I've got to change. So that's where he's coming from. So I wanted to talk about, I missed it, I couldn't share about it last week, and I wanted to share about that because, so think about this. He's saying anyone who does evil hates the light. Okay? So You guys all been here long enough. You know he's not talking about them, right? Like, you know that. It's you got to tell a lot of Christians, hey, he means you. But I don't need to tell you. You know what he means. It means you. So think of this. What a window he's giving you. You're in there trying to get closer to God, right? You're trying so hard. But you're tilting at windmills if you're trying so hard to get close to God while guarding your pride, protecting your false identity from harm, right? Um, I don't know why this one keeps coming up, but lying. Jesus is truth. He is truth. So it, if you when you lie, it is antichrist. It's the opposite of truth. So what I wanted to share this scholastic sort of Christian philosophy. And as a side note, it's interesting to think about when Jesus was on the planet. You know, you might think, well, back then they were all idiots or they were all pretty backwards. But Jerusalem, they're under Roman rule, right? There's Greece and Rome all around them. Plato's been on the planet. They were surrounded by great thinkers. It wasn't a backwards time. In fact, I am certain we would all feel the average American would feel quite uneducated and foolish around these people. Because they didn't like watch YouTube shorts, you know what I mean? They didn't have time to burn on all these distractions. So they're standing around. The newest thing going on with them is someone in the courtyard with a new philosophical idea that they're espousing and then being challenged by. Christianity grew up. I mean, imagine, because I know for me, I know God exists because I've touched God. It's a fact of life for me. But then how do you say it to someone who won't accept your experience? Right? That now you're in this quagmire of thinking and reasoning and argumentations and debates. And it's another world. Jesus existed. Christianity was born amidst great thinkers who turned their thought against Christianity. Think of that. Paul, the great Paul, he was trained at the best school of philosophy. They knew how to think. So we think they're backwards. I mean, yeah, they didn't have cell phones, but I don't know how. Don't you think cell phones are a little backwards? Like, we know now it's harming everyone deeply, profoundly. We know it's destroying children, and we're still doing it. I don't know how forwards we are. We if you're really aware now, you only eat whole foods. You don't eat, or you eat organic if you can, and you try to source it. All their food was sourced right. They didn't have the problems yet. Like everything they were doing was kind of like the very best we could think of already in a lot of ways. The only thing they didn't have was technology. So, okay. So from the scholastic viewpoint, so here's the thing with God. And I really want you to hear this. If you don't know this, really, this would be something to think about. Okay? Um, God doesn't love. God does not have joy. God does not speak truth. Those statements come after something far more important. God is love. God is truth. It's not that God values these things that are apart from itself. God is those things. there's a world of difference between those two things. So God does love. I know I said God does love, but because God is love. So the attributes of God are the same as God. They're the same as God. So if it's justice, if it's love, if it's truth, if it's power, whatever it is we can say God has, we have to retranslate that and say God is that. God is those things. And if you get your head around that, it changes things quite profoundly. God is holiness. God is wisdom. So then God makes a world and a universe and we're in it. First of all, God is existing in an infinity of all of these wonderful things. There's no point where God gets bored and says, geez, it's kind of lonely around here. There's nothing going on. I think I'll create a universe where there's a lot of neat stuff going on. Then I won't be bored. I can watch them, interact with them. That's completely foreign to Christian theology. There's no lack in God that caused God to make a universe. There wasn't boredom. Do you know the fact that you and I could right now, we could all like start doing a bunch of stuff right now? I don't know what. Could do a jig. We could all start dancing around. That's activity, right? Maybe there's merriment and joy. Why can we do things and have merriment and joy? Why can we? Because all of that already existed in God before God made us. This is the Christian God. That if it exists in the physical world, it's because God first was it. Because first God is it. God is those things. This kind of thinking levels me. There's power in it. So then the problem with humanity is that we were made by a God filled with that is meaning itself. God, what you would say, I had such a meaningful evening. It was so meaningful. Something happened in the world with friends or family or an animal, which I think is the easiest way to get it. Something happened. I had this deeply meaningful experience with a child. We watched a movie that was deeply meaningful. It's deeply meaningful. I had this experience. It was so meaningful, so moving to me. That can only exist because all of the good you just experienced already exists in its infinite form in God. In God. So then, what happened with humanity is, with sin, is we started to think to ourselves arrogantly and pridefully, I could do this on my own. I want to do something on my own. And in essence, without saying it, I'll be my own God. I'll be my own God. And then so to do something without God is impossible. Because even the world we're in, all of its qualities are only exist because they first existed in God's mind. They're first God. Then God makes something that reflects God, gives these creatures free will. Something goes wrong. There has to be, right, this possibility to say no to truth, or you're not free. So then we choose sin. And then the thing I want to say that I know I can't say is that everything we do from that place is a degradation. Everything we try to build, and I think it's almost everything we try to build in this world, we try to build apart from source. So we want a community to run well, but our sinful passions and drives that are apart from God, that are against truth, against love, against compassion, against humility, against all of the real things, to the degree that we try to build anything from those motivations, to that degree it is empty and devoid of power. And the Orthodox Church says it even doesn't exist. And the more you're on the path, you begin to feel that and experience that more, because you're used to living in the Spirit. And then if you engage in something that isn't God's will for you, you can feel the emptiness that comes. You experience it. It's most apparent to me in conversations if I'm not supposed to be in one. Then it takes a lot of energy to talk if you're not supposed to be talking. It's really profoundly draining. So you'll hear people say they're on the path. I was hanging out and I just got so drained. Why? Well, because nothing good was happening. So then there was no good in it. See? So when Jesus says those who don't believe are condemned already, here's the condemnation. People loved the darkness rather than the light. I think of it strictly mechanically. God doesn't even have to punish you. It's not about that. There is no good outside of the good. If what we're doing isn't good, it isn't good. It's empty, devoid of meaning. And our world has become increasingly devoid of all meaning. Increasingly, people are driven by deeply sinful motivations. That, and I'm saying they now, but we know the score. We know it's us, but the world is even further lost. And then you're left. The only thing you have is sort of like God makes you a body, and it's enlivened with life energy. It's designed to live in communion with the Trinity. It's supposed to be profound love for creation, animals, and stones, and trees, and stars. We're supposed to be, our vocation was to unite the whole universe in God's love. That's our job. Our job is, God said, here's your job, man. I'm going to make you, you're going to enjoy existing. Why, God, why did you make me? I made you guys because I thought you would enjoy existing. What, you weren't lonely? No, 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 no. I don't get lonely. You can't be lonely either unless you have already fallen. You weren't bored? God? No, you can't be bored either unless you have already fallen. Yeah, the monk used to say, Clinton, you could lock me in a closet for 3 days and I wouldn't get bored once. That's what he said. He said, I wouldn't get bored once. So, God makes us to exist in this ridiculously neat world. We have a sort of dominion given to us over the world. The disgusting, sinful version of that dominion is we can wreck it. It's about the only dominion we exercise over the world now. We just wreck it. We have the power to. It's not what the power was given us to do. It's the sinful version. What would be what would it look like if we were doing our vocation? Well, everyone, just think for a moment. So none of us sin, okay? None of us sin. We are enjoying the full communion with the Trinity. There's no way you would think I hate that person and then they would die because you have so much power, because you're not in sin. So now you're filled and endowed with power. You're walking around like Jesus, who could make things die or live with a word or a thought. So, but it's innocent. It's not, we're not wizards. It's not that. It's very innocent. You're just, it's pure. It's pure and holy. So now you're in a world, and everything you see, you love deeply. But that love is power. It's God's power. So you love with God's love. And you appreciate everything. So now a puppy runs up to you, and it's digging it too, because it lives in a non-fallen world, because the beings who have dominion over the world, us, are not ruining it with every glance of hatred and judgment and ugliness. So now this puppy's running around, blissed out to the maximum. It runs up and it's the coolest thing ever, and God made it, so it's expressing some profound beauty that only exists because it exists in God. So now you're living in the Trinity, and everywhere you look, you're seeing the Trinity, and you're loving it, and it's all blessed. It's all blessed. And everything unfolds completely differently because of this. We make something with beauty, because God is beautiful. And not wizards. It's simple, innocent, true, natural. No one walks up to you and says things to you with ulterior motives. No one's lying. I don't need walls. No one's causing harm. That is why God made us. That's our vocation. So we in love with God. We're right in the middle. We're spirit and body. This is the Christian notion of humanity. Spirit and body, right in the middle. We're in love with God and we're in love with creation. And through us, creation is blessed, held. My daughter got a cold, so very mild, but she didn't come because of it. You know, kids are smarter than us, it seems like sometimes. We went on a drive. Can't remember where we went, why we went on a drive, but we were on a drive 2 days ago in the van, and sometimes she's talkative, so we're talking. And she really loves animals. She's got this vision to. She's very thoughtful. She said, Dad, I'm really glad I wasn't born in the 60s. She says, I know a lot of the people that work for me, she's going to start a nonprofit that protects and helps animals. And hopefully changes people's ideas of what animals are for. She said, Dad, I know I used to think I wished I was born in the 60s, but now I'm glad I wasn't. I think it was too soon. She said, I don't think people would be ready to hear what I want to say in the 60s. But she said, but I know those kind of people are going to be the ones who work for me. Because she wants to, like start an animal place where the actual point is to love the animals, right? Like actually love them. Yes, protect them. Yes, rehabilitate them. Yes, give them a place to live if they've been abused. Yes to all of that. But really, to do what she gets it. She gets what our vocation is. And she said, Dad, I feel like I never said this to her. I've thought this, but I never said this to her. She said, Dad, I know we can never solve human suffering unless we also solve animal suffering. She said, I know that we are in pain because animals are in pain. And it's so normal to us, we don't even know it. We're just going, I don't know what we were getting a coffee or what we were doing. So these are her thoughts. And they're deeply, profoundly Christian. So when we try to build something, a relationship, a conversation, a class, we have all these other motives that are outside of truth. We're not being condemned by God, but whatever we do that doesn't exist in God is nothing. And it will disintegrate. It will fail. It will frustrate creation. It will block creation from God. The structures we build from those motivations. I don't know why I keep thinking a con person, people who con people. It keeps dropping in. People that con others. They're con men and con women. They're not honest. They're up to something. See, you could never, ever come to love and truth living that life. Because most of your activity would be towards an end that doesn't exist. An end that is death. So then, okay. Now I don't know if you guys watched my last video. I put the wrong lights up. Kind of freaked out one of the viewers, like, why do you have all these colors? I just I put on a setting that I thought was the right one. I always have the colors, but they're more subtle. But these were like pretty weird. Then I thought too, because I'm just weird and there's no getting around it. And you're gonna have to accept that I'm weird because I am weird. And also, and also, there's always something about me that's got to be something you have to overlook to hear it. And it's like, I think it's meant to be like this because I only want people that are really gonna do it. So it kind of weeds people out naturally. And I don't mean to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be off-putting or so different that it puzzles people, but it just is that way. Then I think, but if God calls them to this, they'll overlook this. They'll climb over whatever the weird. In this case, it's the color wheel. There could be lots of things. It could be weird things I say, language I use, whatever. But uh, so okay, so I'm really intrigued with this video I made because of one of the people I know who had that spiritual awakening. And if you watch the video, you know that it's a little different than they might have thought it was going to be. But the point I'm trying to make is a non-mystic shared with me their experience and every hallmark. If I'm sitting in front of a person having visions or, just blinding white lights coming into the room at night or whatever, there's an experience of sitting with them. Well, sitting with this decidedly non-mystical person was the exact same experience. Only they don't know it. I mean, they do though. So I hope you watch the video because I'm really just delighted. But we already know this. Who in here doesn't know that the person having visions is not ahead of the person that isn't? We already know this. Like we know for a fact that if right now, because I'm mystical, so if right now I saw, which I see a lot, the white light come in the room, like it just comes in the room. I can see it descend on people sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes it's there, and it's thick as thick, and I know it's there. But we know the non-mystics don't see that. They don't see it. But if you look around the room, the ones that are listening, they don't see it. They might not feel it very much, but you can watch the reverence come over them. So, going with John of the Cross, like he says, if you have a vision, what do? He said, well, even the most holy people can't tell if it for sure came from God or not. He said, even the most advanced souls, he's not talking about psychic people, right? Like he's talking about advanced souls who are very far along in the ways of prayer. He said, even they cannot tell for sure if something came from God or not. So what does he say to do? He says, ignore them all. Just, whatever. Okay. Which is why I speak so casually of that stuff. It's just whatever. I treat a vision like an idea I had while eating supper. It might be great and it might be really dumb. It's just, who knows? It might be neutral. It might be neither of those two things that are so important. It just might just be nothing. So, okay, he says, you just ignore them. You ignore them. It doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because if it came from God, it has already changed you. It is already, so then the only thing that matters is the change. The only thing that matters is the change. And the mystic and the non-mystic 100% have equal access to that change. No difference. None. Little different road to walk, little different challenges, and there is a little difference there in the character it produces along the way and the kinds of experiences they have. The only fruit is love. The only fruit is truth. Everything else just doesn't matter. You guys know my first teacher, Clyde, was kind of not very mystical. He had one big experience, but then after that, basically nothing. But I mean, I would see white light coming off of him, but he didn't see it. If you did energy work on him, like one time, I had my hands on him. I mean, I didn't know anything about what I was doing yet, so I'm praying for him, got my hands on him, just getting into a contemplative state. Getting anywhere yet? And I'm like, rah, rah, freaking adrenaline. I don't know. I mean, you just yelled in the middle like a freak. We're 10 minutes in. Are you getting anywhere over there? And it's like, I don't know, dude, freak. I mean, I was brand new. I didn't know anything, but, um, I just adrenaline. You know, I was getting somewhere, but he wouldn't freaking know because he told me it took 3 days for stuff like that to sink in. Do something like that. It's like 2 or 3 days later is when he notices what it did by the change it produced, not by feeling it. Not by feeling it. Okay. So so then it's like, so then what if, so how do you, a mystical person more so says, well, I know how to get closer to God. I listen, and then I feel this humility, and then I try to act the way I feel. That's what the mystic does. Um, that's what the sensitive person does. It's more like that. Then maybe they get cured of that as I did with 10 years you can't feel anything. I am now sensitive again, but they had to cure me of like junk food mystic guy. Just I feel it, I'm in it. If I don't feel it, I'm no, where am I? What's happening? Where's God? I don't feel God's presence. Like, dude, you can't. If that's where you're at, you've got nothing. You have to have actual faith, Clinton. She's like, now if I don't feel it for a month, I don't care. I don't care. I don't even care. I do not care. It doesn't matter. But I've been cured of that. So okay, but so what if you're decidedly a non-mystic, or you're a mystic who's being cured of their, I want to say, being a baby? And the wives of any mystics will go, yes. Or husbands. Um, then it's like, well, if God is truth, then when you tell the truth, you're near to God. If God is love, then when you love, you are near to God. If God is meaningful, then when you engage in meaning, you are near to God. God is joy, then when you're in joy, you are near to God. Because those things are not separate from God, they exist because God exists. There is meaning in the world because God is meaningful. So, okay, Jesus says, I give you this living water. If I give you this living water, it's going to well up inside of you, become a spring of living water. And there is literally nothing on God's end that doesn't want to give that to you. Nothing. But it's living water. So if I nurture depression, it's the same as nurturing death. then I'm saying no to living water. If I lie, I'm saying no to truth. If I run from meaning, I'm saying no to God. If I won't be present, I'm saying no to pure being. If I won't be present, I'm saying I don't want to exist. I don't want to be. Someone might be saying, yes, but I'm in a chicken shit world. And I think what Christ would say to them is, though they would say, I'm in that world, so I don't want to be in it. I think Jesus would say, then you're saying no to forgiveness, which is the same as saying no to God.